Saying good morning to those of you listening to Classic Radio, 105.5, 105.9. Those of you viewing us via GBN TV, whether it's Channel 7, Channel 11, Channels 20. Good morning. What about those of you via social media platforms? Good morning to you all. So welcome. It's Thursday, the 29th day of August, 2024. And it's another day here on To The Point. I'm your host, GT. Let me say good morning to my guest this morning, representing the Community Relations Department, and also Mr. Richardson. I always seem to forget your of course, the handles that I need to put on to you.
School Attendant Officer, Ministry of Education.
Attendant Officer, Ministry of Education. Gentlemen, good morning and welcome. How's everybody doing this morning?
Great.
Wonderful.
All right. Find that great and wonderful kind of... All right. So, of course, the nature of our conversation this morning is back to school in a matter of days. You could say a vast majority of schools will be reopened. Well, of course, hence for the Sister Isle of Carriacou, pretty much, we'll probably be hearing some more information on that as the day progresses. Now, back to school is always a trying time for most parents. You know, after that extended vacation, especially that summer vacation that we are into now and almost to have to end, and getting their children mind back into that new phase that they get into. Some students will be first time going to new school. Some will be, of course, getting themselves their mind, even though it's returning to the same school, but maybe going to a different class. Meeting, maybe it could be someone transferring from one school to the next, getting to make new friends and so forth. Let's start the conversation off this morning by, of course, offering some advice to parents for starts. And I'll leave that up to Mr. Richardson, who is probably going to take that mantle, during today, the handles that he holds. Advice to parents in back to school.
All right, good morning, GT. Good morning, Grenada and the diaspora. I'm happy to be here with the Royal Grenada Police Force. Advice to parents is that schooling is not what we would say a one-shot thing. So you have to do proper planning. Let's say, for example, your children, you put them sit down at home, you let them know that they are approaching something new and something very important in their life. Education is important, the investment that parents is making, and therefore they would have to speak to the children and let them know that the responsibility is upon them to bring home good grades, good behavior, because right now you have bullying and all these things taking place in school. And I am appealing also to the male folks out there to be supportive with the single parent mom, because schooling is expensive and you would have to hands up, I would say. So put something on the table so that your children would be comfortable enough to attend school every day and on time. Now, out there in Carriacou and Pitimatnik, we know that there would be a delay sometime, probably the first week in October. School will reopen. And the parents out there, you can also call into the Ministry of Education. Our numbers are 440-2737, and you can ask for material support like uniform and things like that. So parents who have not received a voucher, they can still reach out to the Ministry of Education, and they would have some help, additional help. But parents, remember, it is a critical moment in your child's life, whether it's entering a new school or entering a new form. The investment that you make today would be the future for tomorrow. So you have to ensure that your children, as the old people would say, don't go and waste your money.
All right, great. Of course, now I want to get from the RGPF point of view, Community Relations Department, your take or a bit of advice you want to throw out. I'm not sure which one of the two officers would like to go first. And of course, to the students out there and the parents alike. There are probably parents who are listening to this program this morning and may just need a little word of advice for themselves also. Not everybody gets it right every time, but some there are probably parents who need a little advice from the RGPF point of view.
Yes, again, good morning to your viewers and listeners. The RGPF, how we view, the preparation for back to school, we view it, as something that parents should take quite seriously. We view it as an investment in your children, you know. The investment you make from the time they start going to pre-primary school. So you would be putting out, you know, your effort, your time, your money, and we want you to take it serious, you know. Don't take it for granted and say, okay, listen, you know, I know the child have to go to secondary school. Let's say, for instance, secondary school is a critical stage in the education system, in the education life. So the child reach at secondary school stage, and you would say, okay, I'm not going to buy books. Carnival come first, so let me buy the costume. Let's have fun, and then we'll think about school after September. And you don't give the child that time to prepare, to start reviewing the books, you know, to make a little read before, to get in the frame of mind for school. So when end of August, beginning of September come, and the child don't have the books, the state of mind, he's not prepared for school. So he'll be going into the classroom, sometimes distracted, sometimes, you know, unprepared for what is taking place. And so we have to consider, we have to make an investment and do it, you know, put the effort into what we do. And the RGPF, we are going to play our role. We are going to work, you know, in collaboration with the school attendance officer. We are going to be out on the streets, you know, we're going to ensure that the investment that parents are making, you know, we see it as something worthwhile, and children, you know, play their role as well. Because it's like a business, GT. If you buy groceries, you put in the shop, and you don't open the shop, you wouldn't get sale. So, you know, it goes both ways. The parents invest in the children, and the children, you know, the parents have expectations from them. So it goes both ways. So we want children to start getting their minds in the frame, you know, for school. Carnival, you would have seen, yes, you have your elaborated hairstyle, the ladies, you know, the young girls, they put on the weave on the braids and so on. The young boys take the fancy haircuts. And so school is about to reopen next week. And so we'll expect that the barber shops will be filled. Yep. The hair salons and so on, you know. The young ladies would start going to the hair salon, or maybe would have already gone, you know, went to the hair salon and, you know, remove the braids and the weave on and get their hair and the whole, you know, body and mind in that frame, you know, for school.
All right. Sturgis, I want to come to you a bit. You spoke a whole lot this morning of course, in the introduction. How important is that mental preparation for students to get themselves ready for going back to school? That mental preparation. In what context would you put that?
Very important. You have to talk about the psychological, you know, aspect of it. That plays a very important role. For example, we expect that parents to show the children love, and, you know, it would go a long way. When your children get up, you ensure that you let them know, well, that's the objective. You give them a hug, you give them a kiss, and, you know, you send them off to school, you know, feeling great. And once the children are feeling great and they are loved, they would just give love. But if on mornings you have the children, you're cussing them, all this kind of thing, you know, this would create, as I said, if a child grows with anger, you know, he will just display hate. So parents have a great role. The home has a great role. The Ministry of Education has what we call child-friendly school, and they tend to foster those kind of attributes. Love, caring, you know, no bullying and these kinds of things. So the psychological part of, you know, just giving the children this additional love and make them understand that they are cared for, protected, that would go a long way in having them to realize their dreams, their full potential.
All right. You know, officers, once again, my question leads to you. I'm kind of going from the school roof officer to the officers this morning. You know, there have probably been youngsters who may have been portraying different attitudes, you know, during the vacation and you know, getting them back to school. Sometimes these attitudes, our behavioral pattern tends to now sprung off to when they head back to school. And I guess there may be instances where, the community relations department may have to intervene, go out and talk to parents and so forth because of youngsters' behavior. How important is that in terms of parents and also, the community as a whole, in terms of getting those youngsters, to foster better behavior, especially on returning back to school?
Well, the RGPF, this is something that we put great importance upon, and it is not an uncommon thing to see officers and from different branches within the Royal Grenada Police Force visiting the various schools. One of the things that we like to remind students and also parents of is the school rules. Now, most of the schools, secondary schools on the island now would be having their orientation. And in that period, you are introduced to the rules of the schools as it relates to behavior, maybe the items you can carry into the school, those prohibited items, your uniform, and by informing the parents and the children, we take away the excuse of that child saying that I did not know and the parents saying that I did not know. If you don't conform with the rules of the school and the ministry, chances are you will find yourself in difficulty. And we want to remind parents, we want to remind students, the main objective is you getting an education, but not only getting an education. We also want to equip you with respect to be able to participate in the society, to be able to be part of a team. So there are other skills that you will learn in conjunction with your educational subjects, and they are very important when you get outside there in the society and you want to contribute, you want a job, you want to be part of a meaningful establishment.
All right. Gentlemen, we drew for a break, and in this segment, let's take it. And when we come back, we continue with our discussion here. It's To The Point, Classic Radio, GBN TV. We will be right back after the break. Stay with us, folks.
As the rigid tongue flatten head start to jump around, well, this is Shake One, and I'm inviting everyone to the GBN Back to School Extravaganza, and I'm also the brand ambassador for Rush Distributors, and we'll be there with specials on Tampico, Cran, and other juices. Starts from 10 a.m. at the Grenada Trade Center. Make sure you be there.
Attention viewers, as GBN brings you exclusive coverage of this year's Republic Bank Caribbean Premier League, please note some changes to our programming lineup. On Thursday, August 29th and Friday, August 30th, transitions will air at 5:05 p.m. Catch GBN television news at 6 p.m. with a repeat right after the CPL match. And don't miss the rebroadcast of transitions after the GBN news repeat. GBN with you anywhere and everywhere with sports coverage.
Whoa, whoa. Rock the box, we say, yeah. GBN, we say, arts and culture living, yeah. Rock the box, we say. I'm telling you, rock the box, rock the box, rock the box, we say. I'm telling you, rock the box, rock the box, rock the box, we say. We'll be jamming here on a Thursday. It's a
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back, viewers. It's To The Point here on Classic Radio GBN TV. I want to say welcome back to my guests also. Let's continue the conversation this morning. I want to go, we will have it an off-the-air conversation, but we're certainly going to get to that, of course, as the morning progresses. I want to leave to the importance now of parents getting them children, their sons and daughters ready, especially from the preschool and the primary level. There are things that parents should adhere to in terms of the rules of the school. Also, there are things that they should also make known to their sons and daughters in terms of going back to school. You know, the importance of it, because you know in these days and time it may not be that prevalent here in Grenada where the individuals getting lost and stuff forth of that nature in terms of taking wrong bus, and you know it may not be that popular. I'm not saying it may not have happened,
yes,
but it may not be that popular. What is the importance for parents and guardians, so especially tagging their children's personal belongings, name tags? Some may see it as not being, something relevant at times. They're walking around with your son and daughter, that big tag on their clothes and stuff. But they have some level of importance that could help in just in case a youngster who's going to school may have gone adrift for some reason or the other. The importance of that.
That's very important because, for example, in our society, the Grenadian society, children, normally parents allow children to go with a bus, and then probably they could get tied up in the bus terminus. And if they have a name tag, or even on the lunch kit or something like that with a parent number, that would be great help for some. I mean, we are a kind society. I mean, in other places, children gone missing, they die. But I mean, in Grenada society, everybody looks out for one another, and
it's not that worrisome.
No, that would help them to get them to the parents as quickly as possible. So that is one of the things that could be done. We also are seeing now the traffic wardens. They are placed at school zones, and they are doing an excellent job in taking children from the bus across the road to the school. So that's a plus to the RGPF. And these are some of the important things that parents can pay particular attention to. And even some in the preschool, parents, after a period of time, they drop the children off on mornings, collect them. That is important. Give them a hug, give them a kiss. And as they grow older, then you can give them some responsibility of their own.
More leeway, as we would say in local terms.
That's right.
Now, from the police point of view on that particular David, in terms of make it easy for an officer who may not all children may be that verbal at times. You understand it, when they get to a certain situation, they may not be verbal. Not that they can't, but sometimes the nervousness and stuff tendency kind of steps in. The importance of that from the RGPF, the Community Relations Department, in terms of that adding those labels and stuff to children's either their clothing or putting that tag on their backpack or their lunch bag, as we would say.
Well, to answer that, I want to pose this question. What is the appropriate age for a child to be taking a bus by themselves? For the preschoolers, I believe that it's very important that, parents accompany their children during the first few months of school, because that particular child, it may be the first time that they are going outside of their home. And that could be frightening. You being in a bus and seeing different people, especially if it's a bus that it's not a school bus per se, so then there may be a mixture of adults or so. It could be quite frightening. So we say to parents of the very young ones, as much as you can, accompany your child by dropping them to school, from school. The name tag, it helps us as officers. Again, that child being in the terminal and have to wait probably at 30-40 minutes for we to identify the parents. And then they're seeing a police officer who they might be seeing for the first time, asking them questions, even adding to that type of frightening atmosphere. By you placing that number there, you allow us to do our job quicker, and we can reunite that child with that parent with speed, and I think that is very important and helpful in scenarios like those.
All right.
Yes, again, GT, the name tagging doesn't have to be something big or elaborate. It could be, a small piece of paper that you place in the pocket, or, in an area where, the child himself may not be able to, just destroy it or throw it away. In case the police or someone, comes in contact with a child who is lost. Then it would help greatly. Not only parents, but if you have a responsible adult at home, or a good friend, a neighbor who can go and pick up your child or drop off your child for you, especially at the preschool level. I don't even think that you should allow the child to come home for himself or herself. You can have someone assist in doing the drop off and the pickup. And that would go a long way in terms of, ensuring safety for your child, especially, the road these days, the preschools that are located close to the main roads and so on, with the volume of traffic that we have now, and the manner in which most drivers drive on the road, it can be extremely dangerous. So I would advise that, if parents, they can't make the drop-off or the pickup, then they get a responsible person to drop off and pick up as well.
All right. My next subject matter I want to get into is sport, and just Monday of this week, myself and Mr. Sylvan McIntyre, we do have a program here. We always deal with natures of traffic and so forth, and the signs and so forth that youngsters can do. And we spoke at length a wee bit in terms of school crossing and the markings on the road, in terms of the importance of knowing the proper markings, especially when it comes to pedestrian crossing and so forth. So we talk in terms of youngsters going to school now. The importance of knowing, is it the importance of the parents now? In terms of maybe taking a couple of days now before school have to reopen, getting their sons and daughters familiar with that particular route that would take them to school, the proper practices in terms of how they cross the road, stop, look, make sure the traffic, stops or somehow alert the approaching traffic, so that you wants to cross the road. How important it is for parents to take the time out to get their sons and daughters familiar, maybe at the particular age where they could probably cross the roads by themselves, but still taking the time out to alert them in that particular those responsibilities in road crossing and so forth.
Yes, GT. Well, I think it's very, very important that at least you know how to use what is available.
Yeah.
Because, just walking the road and jumping abruptly into the oncoming traffic is not the proper thing to do. So we would advise, as we always do, that when you're about to use the pedestrian crossing, is that you stand on the side, you look left, you look right, you look left again, you ensure that, you make contact with the oncoming driver. Comes to a complete stop, and at least not only the vehicle stop, but at least try to make contact with the driver to see that he recognizes you, and then when it's safe for you to cross, you cross, and you don't crawl across the road, but you move swiftly or speedily across the road, and it takes time. It takes time. We want drivers as well, motorists, to be very observant on the road, to use all your senses, especially the eyes, because a vehicle might be stopped in front of you, and the little child who is crossing, you may not be able to see that child from beyond the vehicle that is stopped. So we ask you to be patient, take your time, observe before you overtake, because you might just be running into a toddler that is crossing the road. So take time, be observant, drive cautiously, comply with the rules and regulations of the road, obey the speed limit and so on. And let's, try to have a safe environment for children to prosper and to grow and blossom. We don't want, we always, would hear occasionally, and I wouldn't say, I take back the word always, and occasionally we would hear about the fatality, the road fatality. Mm-hmm. And we don't, it's something that we're trying to, minimize through education, through conversation like these. And we urging drivers, motorists, to be extremely cautious. The speeding on the road after school and before school to make the money by transporting the young ones. Yes, we want them to get to school. We want them to get to school on time, but you have to, walk in advance. If you want to reach the school for 8 o'clock, you can't leave home 8 o'clock to reach the school for 8 or yes, based on the distance, how far you live from the school, you leave home in a reasonable time. The choosing of the bus, yes. At times, I would encourage that you choose your buses carefully. Basically, you might know the reputation of a driver. You might know the condition of which someone might keep the motor vehicle in. So you might be cautious about boarding that vehicle with that particular driver or using that particular, omnibus. But we urge you to, don't waste time on the road. You go on the road, you take the bus that you think might be the safest bus, the first bus that you get, and you try to get there on time. Parents, again, it's the summer vacation and you might be at home, sleeping and waking up, late, taking the extra rest. But when your child has to go to school or, you have to wake up a bit earlier in the morning to prepare that child, for that child to be in the right frame of mind for school. So you would want to prepare some breakfast, give them some hot tea to drink and stuff. And then they do that in advance so they doesn't have to hurry down and drink the tea and burn the chest. Yeah? So let them make the breakfast early, have them eat something, take a bath, brush your teeth, so on, and get them ready for school and leave home in a reasonable time to get to school on time.
Yeah. GT, the question you ask is real vital because what I would say is that children learns best by demonstration.
Yes.
And if you take them there, it might seem a kind of tiring thing. But if you take them there and you do the crossing, you do everything, they would actually learn it better than if you just keep telling them. Yeah. And also, I know for sure the teachers would do that demonstration also.
All right.
So that we would ensure that safety is there.
All right. So it's always good to have that preparation.
Sure.
Something that could be recommended. That parents pick up that little bit of mantle. Maybe it's the weekend before school open. Take them to the actual school location, and if it's a process with the school, you have to cross the road to get to the school.
That's right.
You understand? Or they have to get the bus. You probably show them the route that the bus takes. So sometimes you don't take a bus that goes the wrong route. You understand?
Sure.
This is a route that you should be taking every day in order to get to school, and the process of how you cross the street and go. Sometimes we leave it up to the youngsters, and their mind just get straight, especially when they come across the friendship. And that leads to another conversation we're going to have shortly in terms of the before school and after school process. The loitering and all of these things that take place. Before we take another break, we'll take on that. How would you like to, of course, speak to parents and students who are home right now? The process of going to school, the do's and don'ts. As it stands now. First day of school, you may feel, well, not much things are taking place in schools. I don't know if it's the same as my time. They always say the first day is a way of reacquainting yourself with what or maybe with the friends, or getting yourself familiar with the class that you're going to be in. And we have the tendency of youngsters feel, well, I can take my good time, talk to a couple of friends in the town or at the bus stop and all, whatever, before I get to school. How we could change that mindset?
We have to, first of all, as I said earlier on, the importance of school. Both parents and, the child, you sit down and you let them know the importance, so they have to be able to. School actually prepares you for work. That's why you reach there on time. You have rules there, just like when you get to a new job, there is rules there. You have to reach on time for work. So school is actually a mini preparation for future life.
Yes.
And parents have to get that into the mindset. And the children also have to get that into the mindset. Now, if we are looking at what you would say would cause a student to become a good citizen, you need a triangle of success, I would call it: the home, the school, and the community, involving the police and everything, keeping law and order. So parents have to be responsible and let the children know that there are certain expectations that is, expected of them, and we want them to ensure that once you do those things, you wouldn't be in conflict with the law, and at the same time, you would becoming a good citizen of your country. All
right. Another further conversation. I think we're just going to proceed before the break, and probably going to take our break in the next segment. It's been a problem that always been existing for a while, and you being as the school attendant officer, you may have come across it. We know that the school age has now increased to 18. Truancy has been a problem. Some students may feel, well, I haven't been going to school for the last 2 months, Is it necessary for me to go back to school now? Some students may feel I may not be. They may know it themselves. I may not be performing well, so they feel like a bit of an outcast for some reason or the other. When I go to school, I may not have the best clothing, and I'm looking at the other students, and all the various reasons will of course influence that kind of mindset. Your take on that, sir? Tell me.
Yes, but there are certain programs in place that these children, if they are not academically inclined, there are programs like right now there is this program, the NULO program. It's coordinated by both Ministry of Lotto and NULO. Yeah. And they have 3 centers. It's situated in St. Mark. One is in St. Mark, one is in St. Andrew, and one is in St. David. And these centers would cater for children like that. What would be doing there actually is some of the soft skills. You see, people complain, even as you might say, there are children that they leave school and they're not ready for work because they don't have the soft skills, yes. How to approach people, how to, the customer service and all these things. So this program is geared particularly for these children, and in fact the Grenville Center would be opening in September. St. David's and St. Mark's would be following pretty.
St. John's.
No, the St. John's have the big NULO already. Okay. So this is just to cater for these children that may not be academically inclined, and they need to have because NULO takes you when you reach 17, 18. Yes. And you have children sometimes all 14, stragglers. They have problems with the academics. Yes. But this skill program would be able to cater much for their need.
All right.
Persons can contact me at 417-5900, and we'll get you to one of those centers that would offer this training for the children.
So that's if you know that. Well, you have a son or daughter who's expected to return in school in September, but you me as a parent may notice that they probably on a technical level they're probably better at that than going to do the theoretical work in school, which is important also.
Sure.
It is important. The theoretical part always comes hand in hand with the technical, but there are students who may be able to do things of a technical nature, 90% better than.
Yes, and there are certain schools in Grenada, I know, for example, that teach plenty technical things, like the Boca Secondary School, like the Happy Hill Secondary School. So, as you rightly say, you need to have your academics also, and you can do some of those skills. In addition, 18 years, children, you are still a child because you cannot do certain things. You cannot marry on your own and things like that. And
still need parental consent.
Still need parental consent. So I'm saying that the age limit, I remember clearly that it's against the law for children to not to attend school, and I must really thank the Royal Grenada Police Force for helping me out. We took some parents in the St. David's area to court, and I can see tremendous improvement in that family. They are attending school every day and on time, and the message is out to the others, and they too are following suit. So sometimes we have to use the long arm of the law to reel in some of these delinquents. But as it is, normally people, you have a fine and confine, so you pay $2,000 or 6 months imprisonment, and this deterrent, works well.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's take a break. We come back. We still have so much to talk about. We'll be right back after the break, folks. Stay with us. Classic Radio.
This is Julian from Superb Distributors, and guess what? We are going to be at the Grenada Trade Center Annex this Friday for the back to school sale with GBN. So please come on down and check us out. We have some special deals on Capricin, your favorite drink, Rika juices, New Bright buckets, and so much more. So come on down and enjoy the sale with us. Superb Distributors, you don't want to miss it.
Distributors and Grenada Steelworks regret to advise the passing of Dr. Amina Ghafor, one of the founding directors of Gafson's group of companies, wife of Executive Chairman Abdul Satur Ghafor, and mother of our Managing Director Omar Ghafor. Dr. Amina Ghafor was a well-respected author, publisher, teacher, and philanthropist, recognized in her home country Guyana and far afield for her writings and research into indentureship and the Indian diaspora around the world. Her funeral takes place on Thursday, August 29th, and as a mark of respect, operations in Barbados, Grenada, and St. Lucia shall be closed on that day. May Allah grant her eternal peace and rest.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back, viewers, to The Point, Classic Radio, GBN TV. With me this morning, we have, of course, the school attendant officer, Mr. Richardson, with us this morning, and from the, of course, the officers representing the Community Relations Department. I wanted to spend more time, of course, and get your point of view when it relates to, students who get themselves involved in activity that's not relating to school. Drugs, the alcohol avoidance and so forth, and the wrong influences, the loitering aspect of it also. And I wanted to give the officers the opportunity to speak to parents who are listening, because we more get the parents listening to programs of this nature right now, and the things that parents should be paying attention to. Sometimes they miss it for various reasons, and may think it's just a normal behavior of their sons and daughters, not knowing that they've been getting those wrong influences some way or the other. Let's hear from your officers.
Within every school zone, there are areas that the principal, staff, and the general management of the school may ask the children not to visit.
Yeah.
And these are the areas that are known to either have, probably you may have drug use in those areas, you may have violence and so. And it is very important that parents understand that your teacher and your principal, they are not trying to be punitive or trying to be a negative influence. When they recommend your commitment and your assistance in ensuring that your children take the bus at the appropriate place and time, and that they avoid those trouble spots, it is for the safety of your children. Now, after school, it's a customary thing that you may see a lot of children behind the bus terminus. And in those areas, generally, where you may not get a police officer, you may not get an adult. And when children tend to congregate in those areas, that's where we start having the problems. The drug use, you may have sexual activity and so. So to combat that, what we would suggest is that you give your children time to get home. And you engage them in chores, so it's not a situation that school over and they don't have nothing to do. A little thing like washing the wares or so, or maybe attending to a little brother or a little sister or so. All those things have built responsibility, and that child will grow up to be a responsible person in the society. So for the alcohol, we know that to shopkeepers and so on, anybody doing business, you are not supposed to be selling alcohol to children. And when you do, and if you do, and the police have that evidence that you are conducting such activity, then you will come in conflict with the police, and it's possible that you may get arrested and brought before the court. Even as I say that, I want to take the opportunity to speak to just elders in the society. Now, we often say that it takes a community to raise a child. This is something that I believe I benefited from that, and hence the reason why I'm actually using this platform to expound upon that. It may not be your child, but any child and every child that is engaging in an activity that endangers the life of that child, as a responsible adult, you have a responsibility to act and to try your best to get that child to deviate from that path. And if you are unable to do so, call the police. Because some of the children, we know at times they could be a bit negative, they may be confrontational and all the sorts. But what we are saying, what we don't want to do is to say, me, I am business with that child. They rude and they this and they that. No. There are institutions that have responsibility for dealing with crime. Bring it to our attention as the police. We will help, we will intervene. And this is what I want to share on that.
All right. But you know, sometimes there are resistance even from the parents also.
Of course.
As relates to that, you know, there are resistance from the parents in terms of how the parents will, you may have some concern about a youngster's behavior, but because of the resistance from the parents, you may say, well, but I hold my side, which is not the appropriate thing to do, but sometimes it comes across that way.
Yeah, we need cooperation. As I said earlier on, a triangle between the school, the parents, and the community. You need cooperation, not confrontation. Long ago, as my colleague here said, it takes a community to raise a child. And once somebody noticed that a child is falling out of line, they would speak to the child, speak to the parent, and let the parent, you know, rein them in so that you would get them going on the right track. It is also important to note that we need to be proactive. That is why most of the schools, we have guidance counselors. And the guidance counselors at this school, their job is not just to be there, but they would help in what you would call different aspects of the child life. So, for example, we have, you know, we want to do some problem solving. We want to be able to do conflict resolution and these kinds of things. So the guidance counselor is not when a problem pops up, then you go to the guidance counselor. The guidance counselor has programs that he or she would use to be proactive so that you would not be able to get yourself involved in some negative aspects.
All right. So the counseling process should not, as you may be trying to say, should not always be when a problem develops, but it should be before that, where they have the knowledge of knowing, because I've been hearing my guidance counselor speaking on those levels, I may not be getting myself involved in it. And that's where the problem-solving techniques comes in there now. What are some techniques that you would like to offer to our listeners and viewers this morning? You know, and most of them don't know, you know, the youngsters at home, but they ain't paying attention to the program of this nature. You understand? So we leave it up to the parents to really, you know, talk to their youngsters before they go to school, head on back to school for the upcoming term. Problem-solving techniques that parents should you know, mention to their sons and daughters, you know, as the new school term is approaching and so forth, and the way forward.
Well, normally the first thing that we tell children is that if someone interferes with you, take it to the authority.
Not hit them back.
Not to hit them back. No. So, but as you rightly say, you have some parents nowadays that they would tell the children, hit them back, do them something. But the first line of thinking, you should tell the authority. So take it to the teacher or the principal in charge. If sometimes you cannot be too quick, so you tell children, count to reach 10. And by that time, you should have some cooling down effect and you should think rational. So you would not do something in haste and then, the result might be death or something of the sort.
Getting yourself suspended from school.
That's right. So it's some just little techniques that parents need to instill in their children. Tell it to the authority. Count. Okay? And these things would go a long way in helping you to, not to get yourself in trouble. Even big people, they need to, if something happen, get to the authority. If you end up in some kind of conflict, count slowly to reach 10. By that time, your head should cool down and you should be able to make a wise decision.
All right. The importance of parents, checking their children's backpack on a daily basis before, after school. Because, it's children may tend to see, well, I'm having issues with someone in school. I want to carry to school some whatever devices they feel they want to carry. The importance of parents to pay attention to their children, not carry to school things that are needed for the learning process for the day. So the importance of that. I'm not sure if the police would want to take up that mantle on that.
Okay, so apart from the prohibited items, now every school going to have a list of prohibited items. For example, something that will stand out. There are no circumstances where a child should be carrying a weapon, a knife or something, or maybe some instrument that they would have fastened into a weapon or so. Yeah. But there's also the issue of the extra clothing, where you would see that they remove portions or sometimes the complete uniform, and they put on that civilian clothing or home clothing, where it's hard to differentiate whether that child, based on their size, might be, a school child or an adult or so. And I think the intention is not to look like a school child, so they could partake in activities or they could go to places where they're not supposed to be. So as a parent, you have to be vigilant. Have that conversation, search the bags. Now, if you get a weapon and you take it away, that is better. Now, if that child comes to school with the weapon and the police, then the process gets a little more complicated, because then that child have to go to the station, there's a conversation, and there may be possible charges also. While the intention is not to criminalize young persons, but obviously if there are behaviors that are endangering the lives of other students and others in the society, then firm actions have to be taken. Now, this is something that the police won't apologize. So there are some extremes that you have to combat as law enforcement for a peaceful society, and when we have situations that present itself, then you're going to see that side of policing. Here we are giving you the information, here we are disseminating that we want you to be vigilant. I often say that when a child goes to school, you as that parent, you are in that process as well. You are walking that road, you are going to school. So you want to ask questions, you want to pay attention. How is your day? What type of subject? How are you doing? Don't have this sort of absent-mindedness where, as a parent, you're not aware of what your child is. You don't know the difficulty they are experiencing. Because in a school environment, you may raise your child to think a particular way, but they are engaging, they are interacting with children from different homes, different persuasions, and conflict naturally will arise. So you want to say to that child ahead of time, there will be tensions, there will be moments you're going to be challenged.
All right.
And keep that calm head. Be disciplined. Report matters to your teacher's attention, to your principal. If it gets pressing and we have to take it further, we will do so. Have those conversations ahead of time so you prepare that child so when a situation presents itself, it does not have to wonder, what should I do? But mommy, daddy would have said something and they could piggyback on that. And so they have a line of thinking that on how they can approach that situation.
All right. So, Sherwin, you want to add anything to that? You've been pretty calm today, sir, for some reason. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot to be said. If we go back, you mentioned before about the children with the drug use and the alcohol use. I believe on that part, a lot has to do with the society from which that child comes. A lot has to do with parenting and maturity of parents, because in communities, as you say, a lot of the times, the elders in the community would bring it to the attention of the parents, and a lot is depending on how that parent would respond to that individual or to that complaint. Sometimes even the police get involved. and you know, the way that parent might react to the police or the authority, it sends a signal. As we say, a lot of times children learn by what they see happening, and parents, sometimes how you respond to the authority will determine, you know, the attitude that your child would have for authority. Similarly, they would go in the school, the principal, a teacher may engage them in a conversation, and the reaction from that child, you know, you can tell that, listen, you need to be disciplined, you need some counseling, you need to be spoken to, and you need to learn how to. The key thing is obeying, you know, obeying authority, obeying, you know, law and order, and the rules of your institution. We speak here about what we are speaking about, you know, recently, and I want to just say, GT, when we search bags, we don't only search for weapons. You might go in the bag searching genuinely, because you might ask the child, did you get homework today? And they would say, no, they don't get no homework. And sometimes you go in the bag, you look at the books, and you recognize, listen, you have to, you know, revise this thing, you know, or you have a project to hand in tomorrow. Yeah, sometimes you discover, you know, what you never expect to discover. Yeah. It might be not only drugs and alcohol, but it might be something that, you know, that doesn't belong to your child that's in the bag. And you would, you know, advise them to return it, or you yourself, you know, may return it. That is important. Again, we don't want to go through this program, GT, and don't talk about loitering. Yes. You know, the loitering, especially in our major towns, it's a serious concern for law enforcement. It goes back again to parenting, and it goes back to children obeying, you know, authority. We want what we want. We want cooperation, and we want this collaboration between the parents, the police, and the wider community. So children should not be standing around the Bruce Street Mall just because they want a lime, or a parent might come and say, well, so you can't go to the mall and get a pizza after school. It's not the appropriate time for that to happen. And you know, it encourages disobedience to authority. When you find this resistance from the parent, it encourages, you know, that child to want to, you know, do other things that they think they might get that support from the parent, whether they are right or wrong. And we need to let our children know when they are wrong. The thing about us is that these days we are becoming so passive. A lot of times you hear parents say that, I can't make it with this boy, you know, I cannot be on his own. Yeah, they give up, and we cannot give up. You know, if you can't make it by yourself, then there is always someone that you can turn to, some institution that you can be referred to, or refer that child to get some assistance. And we as law enforcement, we cannot deal with everything. We don't have the answer for everything, but we can definitely deal with what we can and direct you to other places where you can get assistance for yourself sometimes, because sometimes the situation in the home, you know, has to do with more, you know, the parents and the family, and it might affect the child. So either you get assistance for yourself or for the child. And we as law enforcement, we here with you. We always here to assist, and our doors are always open. The police stations, they are open 24 hours a day, you know, 7 days a week. You know, so we're always here with you. The Ministry of Education, the school attendance officers, they're always available. As a matter of fact, you know, we're going out, you know, for a short moment after this session and deal with, you know, a matter. So we're going to address situations. We are here to help, and that is the key issue. It's about making our school environment, making our children feel comfortable so they would want to go to school, you know, and at making them comfortable at home, teaching them and giving them the right sort of, you know, advice, so they can be, you know, more law-abiding. They can comply with rules and you know, instructions that are lawful and so on. Too often we see resistance, we see blatant disrespect for law and authority, and a lot of the times these infractions, they are committed by the younger set of, you know, persons, and a small fraction of that happens to be our school children, and that shouldn't occur. That shouldn't occur. We have seen last year too much conflict in the schools, too much fighting, and we are going to embark on a big mission, a big project, to see how we can mitigate and how we can help to reduce, these sort of situations.
Gentlemen, we get to that point of the morning. It's so sad that we were not able to accommodate calls this morning on the program. It's already a couple of minutes after 10 a.m. I'm sure just now I'll let you go first in terms of your closing contribution. Of course, it's back to school, and of course, closing contribution you'd like to make.
Okay, my closing contribution is still that we are the ministry. We are allowing persons who do not have what we would say they did not receive any voucher. The process is still open and accommodating so that persons can give their names. The number is 440-2737. You can ask to put you on to Student Support Services Unit, Ministry of Education, so that your name can be placed there and you would get the matter addressed as soon as possible so that your children would be comfortable to return to school.
All right. Officers?
Yes, I want to just say these last few things on loitering. Now, loitering in itself provides a habitat for many other offenses. Within your school environment, you have security, you have teachers, you have civilian staff, and they all contribute towards the discipline of that child. So when that child leaves the school environment, most of the school fights that you see on your social media, it occurs outside of the school environment. And chances are, if that child take the bus at the appropriate time and place, he would not be involved in a fight in the back of the mall. So parents, when we ask for your cooperation, it's not that we are trying to control your child, control you and tell you what to do and all the different type of comments that you normally make. But we are actually suggesting to you to contribute towards the safety of your child. If they're in the streets, they're outside, chances are they may run into a person, they may not even be of school age. It might be somebody that they know. It might be somebody up to no good. So as we go forward, we solicit your cooperation, your understanding. Again, we advise, we admonish that you give your children a time to get home. If it's a situation where you would be on work, call at a certain time, have a neighbor check in, have some type of a process to ensure that your children does not loiter in the tongue and get themselves into shoplifting and every other negative that is associated with that particular action.
All right.
Yeah, GT, I always have something to say.
I know.
Okay, again, I just want to make this special appeal to our police officers, our teachers, parents. Let's not give up. Let's not be so passive that we continue to pass over, issues that we can address. Let's engage, issues more, deal with them, and see how we can find solutions. I must say again, on behalf of the Commissioner of Police and the officer in charge of the Community Relations Department, I must say thank you for creating this platform and giving us the opportunity to disseminate information to the public so that they can be more aware and make more informed decisions as they go forward.
All right. Gentlemen, I want to thank you once again for sharing information this morning, and of course it was definitely fruitful. Certainly hope the parents and even the children who are at home who have listened will certainly understand and get a different approach towards things in the upcoming school term. Thanks once again.
Thank you.
Thank you, bro.
Folks, to our listeners and viewers out there, thanks for being part of To The Point for today. Join us again for another edition. That's where we say goodbye.